Hi, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Chat On with GYC Vegas, recorded and produced at the Video Podcast Studio. I'm your host, Gina Yeager, founder and director of GYC Vegas, an award-winning PR and marketing agency. We believe every company has a story to tell, and we're passionate about getting businesses recognized. At Get Your Chat On, we sit down with local professionals to get to know a little about their organization, their role, and their perspective on our vibrant business community here in Southern Nevada. On today's episode, we're chatting with Heather Brown, elected member of the Nevada System of Higher Education Board of Regents, representing District 6 in Southern Nevada. A proud Las Vegas native, Western High School and UNLV alumna, Heather co-founded StartUp Vegas, a nonprofit driving Southern Nevada's startup culture, workforce development, and economic diversification. She previously served as Senior VP of Entrepreneurial Development at the LVGEA, where she spearheaded initiatives to strengthen our region's tech and innovation economy. Raised in a military household and guided by values of service and accountability, Heather spent a decade in Washington, D.C. and 2 years in Brussels working in public policy and global affairs before returning to Nevada. Recognized among Las Vegas's 40 under 40 and a graduate of Leadership Las Vegas, Heather champions education, entrepreneurship, and community building throughout Nevada. I should say, not just Southern Nevada. So glad to have you on, Heather, and have a conversation with you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Thanks. Well, I would love to kind of have our guests get to know a little bit about your background. Tell us about your role right now as a regent with the Nevada System of Higher Education Board of Regents.
I'd love to. I was lucky enough to be elected to the Board of Regents in 2022, and I'm 3 years into my term. I have 3 more left. And our main role is, so we have 8 institutions in the state, 7 teaching institutions. We have a research institution, DRI, 2 R1 institutions, UNLV, UNR, a state college, university, Nevada State University, and we have 4 community colleges. We have College Southern Nevada, Truckee Meadows Community College, Great Basin College, and Western Nevada College.
Wow.
And so we've got 4 different types of institutions and 1 board. And so it's our job to make sure that not only are they fiduciary, so we have a fiduciary responsibility. Are they fiscally sound? Are the programming meeting the demands of what the students need, right? If we're still typing, have typing classes, that doesn't work for us, right? If we're teaching degrees that are going to be sunset in the next 4 years, then we're not setting our students up for success. So our institutions are wonderful. They are really good at understanding the trajectory of something, but they do have to come to the board, and we take a system approach.
Nice. Do you approve and then kind of usher in new programming?
All the time.
And so you're constantly encouraging all of those schools
all the time
to change their curriculum.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, our schools, they understand that the world is changing. And so they'll be very proactive in wanting to bring in new majors and minors and programs, and they explain to us why, or they say, hey, we've got 40 kids that already want to be enrolled in X, Y, and Z career. And quite frankly, we're seeing a renaissance of maybe some of these traditional degrees, that different accounting degrees, different things like that, ChatGPT and AI aren't going to be able to, completely surpass. And it's really nice to kind of see, our schools really investing in the futures of our students. But do you mind? The nice thing is that's what our institutions are doing, and then the Board of Regents is supposed to look at it from a state perspective.
Okay.
And so I'm actually the chair of the Workforce Committee, and this is something that I'm super proud of. We just passed as a board, and it came out of my committee, a credit for prior learning initiative.
Oh.
And so we are actually looking at the system. How are the 7 teaching institutions working together? How is it that you maybe have 20 years of service in the hospitality industry? Well, you probably shouldn't have to take Hospitality 101 if you want to come to school. And so we're looking at, what are your years of, real world experience? How does that translate to higher ed? Because we do still feel like there's a place for everyone in higher ed. We just need to meet our community where they are. And that's something that we just recently passed, and we're implementing it over the next probably year. And I'm really proud of it. That's one of my main things that I wanted to accomplish, and we got it done in year 3. So
That's really interesting because there's so much that goes into your career, time that you've spent doing all of these things, and you want to go back to school and fill in the gaps. You don't want to have to take things all over again, right? Or just learn, waste any time.
yeah. I mean, think about if you had been in the military for 15 years and you're a cybersecurity specialist and you want to come get your degree in something related to that field. I really don't want to send you to 101 classes, right? I mean, you could probably teach some of these classes.
Right.
And so, we have to make sure that we're not devaluing an education, but also honoring what our constituents have done in their careers. And it's finding that proper balance. And we have incredible staff that's working with our institutions to make sure that we can do that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your journey to where you are today. You've had such a varied career, from your time in DC to working to co-founding StartUp Vegas to LVGEA. What ultimately led you, through that path?
You mentioned in the intro that I grew up in a military household, and I really do credit a lot of that to where I am today. Not just because the values that my parents instilled in me, but the fact that we had to move around a lot. I was always the new kid. It taught me to not be shy. I moved around with my brothers, and so we were a little team everywhere we went, and we had to make friends. And it really made me want to build community everywhere I was going. And so then when I take a look back on my career, that's what I've been doing my entire life, is building community. It's, finding problems and being able to find solutions to them, maybe faster, different, probably because of my background, probably because I've been all over the world and I come with so many unique experiences. And I get excited about that because, I'm willing to put the work behind the ideas, and I'm just not an ideas person. And I really do attribute that to my upbringing.
So take us through your career and kind of what led each experience to the next one, starting with the beginning after college.
Well, I actually, during college, I showed up and to the Nevada Democratic Party, and I was like, I would like to volunteer. And that's not how that's not how internships work, by the way. You usually have to apply, but I had no idea. And so they were really nice to me, and they gave me an internship, and I was able to get my feet wet. And actually, Congresswoman Berkeley ended up helping her on her campaign that year. This was 2004. And, she just really liked that I was willing to do the work. And so she actually introduced me to my next job. And then the work I did there helped me get my next job. And then it really was my time in college that I spent learning and developing skills that I didn't have. I'd never been in rooms with fancy people. I've never been to a political event where, I don't know, do you eat at political events? I know that sounds silly, but when you are 19 years old, and you're like, well, should I be, do I have my plate? Am I talking to people? And I really did spend that time observing all of these amazing people that are still part of our community, and I get to call them mentors and friends. I really spent that early time, and that helped me because after I graduated from school, it was 2008. Not a great time to graduate and enter the workforce.
Right.
I ended up moving to Washington, D.C., and those skills that I had self-taught myself to really pay attention to, look and see how to read the room, right? And probably stuff I learned from my childhood, being the new kid and, walking into a classroom, having to read the room pretty quick. That made all the difference when I went to D.C. because that's a hustle and bustle kind of place. Like, they will, chew you up and spit you out. And,
I knew you were going to say that.
And it is not forgiving. And so being able to, be a little bit quicker on your feet and learn these skills, I'm so grateful that Nevada, which is a very welcoming, wonderful place, allowed somebody who was in their early career, I left when I was 22. So from 19 to 22, really hone in and learn. And like I said, Congresswoman Berkeley at the time, Mayor Berkeley now, was just such an amazing person. She obviously has so many people to talk to, but she really took the time to make sure that me as a young teenager, got a good foundation and got to learn from people who were, public servants. And it really just reinforced my, love for what I was doing. So, but then obviously, I'm in DC, I'm figuring this out. I'm nation's capital. I'm, 2,600 miles away from my home. And, and I loved my time in DC. I'm so grateful for it. But I was also homesick a little. And so I created this program called the Civic Engagement Academy. And I had reached out to Governor Miller because I had met him back when I was kind of getting my feet wet in the world, I guess. And I was like, hey, I want to bring 8th graders to Washington, D.C. I don't see Nevadans here. And so I started that program, and still to this day, I bring Miller Middle School to Washington, D.C. every year. And it's just one of those things that I love doing. When you see these 8th graders make a connection with the things they learn in school to the things they get to see firsthand, there's a spark in their eyes, and there's nothing better than getting to see that. I love it. It's something I'm still going to do. Obviously, after DC, I decided to move to Brussels, and I work for a European political party running a continent-wide program for the parliament elections. That was fascinating because it's not about me having, or it's not about them having to assimilate to my working habits as an American who, worked in the political sector. I am now dealing with all these different cultures, customs, language barrier, all of these other factors, and it really humbled me. Fast.
Yeah, I bet that kind of experience can.
Well, because, they had hired me to help them, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. And I knew that, but it really sank in at my first training where I was like, oh, they're not even at the step that I thought that they would be. Basic 101 in my head. We got to take it back 3 layers, and we really got to start from 95, in education speak, right? We're in the 95 classes. And I really liked it because that helps me not make assumptions today. And I really have to, similar to what we're talking about, how we're meeting our students where they are, you have to meet people where they are. You can't just assume they're all on the same baseline. And so that really helped me. Then I was working for Mr. Gore, his climate reality. I did C3 and C4 work, which was amazing.
Nice.
And then I decided to move home. I joined a startup. They were headquartered in Nevada, and it has just been a hockey stick trajectory since then. I have really just reinvested in this community that has given me so much. And I obviously decided to run for office shortly after moving home. I'd been home maybe a year. But I knew that this place was special. And so being able to come home and now being a part of the fabric that's not just making today better, but hopefully tomorrow better, it really makes me excited.
So along those lines, what would you say the mission, or purpose, is that lies at the heart of your work?
It's always community, unequivocally community. But this state, this community, this, Southern Nevada, but really the state it's so easy to love, and it's so easy to champion and want to see it grow, because when I moved back, I saw nothing but potential. Endless amounts of potential. I saw a ton of people who wanted to do good, and they were doing the work, and I was just happy to fold in and be a part of that, the boots on the ground, making sure that we're helping entrepreneurs know that this is a good place for them, helping companies realize that this isn't just a tax haven for them. This is actually a community that they can grow and scale. They can find the workforce. They can actually, have a future here, and it's not just a layover to whatever's next. And it's nice.
What was it like? I mean, you, with that gap, so you left
I was gone
Las
13
Vegas.
years.
Yeah, you left Las Vegas right after graduating college. and after time interning for Berkeley, right? And then left, and you had, grown up, you had matured through all of these other roles and been in some really high and powerful places. And then coming back, how did your perspective change on what, Nevada is?
Luckily, I had come back multiple times every year because my grandparents were here. And then when they passed, coming back to see my family. And then, but as an adult and as a working professional, totally different. And I mean that in the best way possible. I truthfully, in 2008, I didn't think that there was any jobs here for me, which is why I left. I didn't, I'd always kind of said DC was a goal of mine, but I don't know if the economic downturn would have happened. I don't know if I would have left immediately after. But I really felt like unless I wanted to work in hospitality, what was I going to do in 2008? What was I going to do?
It was a hard time, right?
Yeah. And so I'm just so grateful that I kept like a pinky toe into Nevada, paying attention to the political sector. I'd worked a couple campaigns between leaving and coming back that had me coming in and out of Nevada. But just coming back, I truly, I cannot say this enough. There's so much potential here, and I saw it immediately. And I loved how, I love all the business community and getting to know that side. I can honestly say I didn't know that side of Nevada when I was a student. I was in the political sector a little bit, right? Baby political. I was definitely a student, and I really put an emphasis on my time on campus. I, did student government. And so I was super involved in making my campus community the best that it could. I actually called Larry Lomax. He was at Clark County over elections. I believe that was his title. But I do remember, and I will never forget this, I called this man every day for a month. And it's because I wanted early voting on UNLV's campus. This was for the 2008 election. Early voting had not been on campus since 1998, which was a midterm, and it was the first year early voting was allowed. And they told us, the turnout wasn't great. Well, yeah, it was 1998. It's the first time, and it was a midterm. This is a presidential election.
Right. And
just so happens,
look who's running.
Barack Obama was running.
Right.
Yeah. So I called Larry every day for a month. I mean, I must have been obnoxious to him. But I was like, hey, just me. I'm with CSUN. I just love to call. And the audacity, really. I was 22 years old being like, let's go, Larry, let's go. And, I actually look back on that, and I'm so proud of myself for having this much conviction and being like, it's the right thing to do.
Most kids at that age do not have that kind of passion and
come on, Larry.
Aggressive, tactics.
And he did. He invited me to a meeting, and I was like, oh, it's working. And I was like, so then I was like, oh, I should probably let UNLV know that I wanted to do all this. And I did. I let them know. A couple people, obviously the details are super blurry, but I have to say, we got early voting on campus, and it was, I think, the busiest single day spot other than the Boulevard Mall or something. It was crazy. And, honestly, that was my scope at the time, was how can I make this campus better? And now it's funny because, yes, I have a connection to the campus, but all the campuses in the state.
Right. Now.
So now it's how do I, that boundary has expanded to the state boundary. How do I make the state better? And I'm still taking that same fiery energy, that same hey, guys, we can just do this. I'll call you every day if we need to. We got this.
What, is it hard?
Sign the piece of paper.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk about your some maybe pushing boundaries during your time at the LVGEA. What a record there in your short time. You brought 2/3 of the state's abatement applications in just 5 months and achieved 9 times the previous year's performance. How are you pushing boundaries now in your regent role and to transform Nevada's higher education system?
I mean, I have not taken a day to even gather my thoughts. No, I'm joking. Honestly, when I look at I was elected to 6 years, and that means I need to give 6 years of time. And I've really tried to make every meeting, every opportunity count. And I'd mentioned this, but we are a system, and there's something really beautiful about that. And so how can I look at our state's higher ed system, the workforce trajectory and pipeline for our state, and not ever letting that leave my mind when we're talking about the health of education, the future of the state. Higher ed is so instrumental. Just talking about Southern Nevada, I mean, CSN has over 40,000 students that they interact with. Certification, trainings, partnerships with unions, then 2-year and 4-year degrees. So we're talking about every kind of student, every kind of person can get a benefit from CSN. And I take that to be a very real responsibility for me. How do we push the boundaries? How do we not rest on our laurels? Just because we did great next year, great, add 5%, right? What else can we do? I had mentioned the credit for prior learning. That also extends to AP credits, CLEP, career and technical education. All of our institutions were treating these things differently.
Oh, wow.
If we're really a system, it should be unified. And so I'm just so grateful for the staff at NCHI, because when we sat down and they were like, all right, you're chair of the workforce committee, what do you want to do? I outlined these things and I said, this is the most important thing to me, because the workforce is the most important thing. We could be attracting businesses all day long, but if we don't have the workforce for them, they're not going to stay here, and they're probably not even going to say yes. And so I want to make sure that higher education is part of everybody's conversation, whether they work in economic development, community development, whether they're a municipality, whether they're just a business that's looking at Nevada. They're going to say, well, we already know that higher education is going to have our back. They're going to be able to train our people. They're nimble enough to make it work for us. And I got to make sure that we are thinking about the future, and each of our institutions have the opportunity to be that resource for all those different sectors. Higher ed has to run through all of it. And so that's what I focus on every day.
Well said. Professional advice. You've navigated a lot of different roles through entrepreneurial ventures and economic development, political affairs. What are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned that you could impart on listeners?
I think 2 things. One, the follow-up is the most important thing. And make it meaningful. I can't tell you how many times somebody will be like, hey, I want a job at blah, blah, blah. Can you help me? I mean, I don't know you. I don't know what it is that you do. You didn't include your resume. More importantly, you didn't tell me the why. And so I don't know how to actually be helpful to you, and I think this is something that I'm really cautious of. When I ask somebody, I realize that they're putting their reputation on the line for whatever I'm asking them to do.
Of course.
So it has to be meaningful, and I want to give them the why. I want to give them why that's also beneficial for them. And then the second thing is find a mentor. But more importantly, find an advocate. Somebody who's going to say your name in a room that you're not in. Somebody who's going to bring you into the rooms that you're not necessarily have access to. But also how you do that is by, again, adding value and making sure that you are also giving them a why. Why are they going to spend time to meet with you? I tell every student, if you want to meet with me, I'll do it. Give me a why. What do you want to talk about? Are you excited about something? Is there something you want different? Have you just never talked to an elected official before? Then that's a very different conversation. Are you interested in running for office? I really think the why is so important, because it also frames a conversation, and nobody wants to waste anybody's time. We all only have 24 hours in the day. I love being busy, but I also love being helpful. But I want to know how I can be helpful, and I want to show up for you. I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want people to waste my time. So I think professionally, if you're, thinking about, hey, I want to get into this career, I see this person's podcasts, or I see them on social media, or they're on LinkedIn, find out why they do something or some connection to them, and not be like, oh, you know my friend. No, like, why are you and them, why do you two need to meet? And there's always a why. So
what's the connection?
Yeah.
Right. That's great advice. Upcoming initiatives. What are you working on right now, whether it's with the Board of Regents or StartUp Vegas? What are you excited about?
Everything. I'm excited about everything. No, so I actually have a podcast myself, Home Means. And
love the name.
It's obviously a play on Home Means Nevada. And I'm really proud that I'm interviewing people from the state who really just love this place. And I want to tell our story. And so that's something I'm really focused on, because I'm seeing myself with the lens of entrepreneurship, economic development, and education. There's like a middle section there where all of those things need to be layered on top of each other. But people also need to know what's happening in Nevada. They need to know how special this place is. You know, I had a boss say there's 2.4 million people, and I know all 50 of them. The minute she said that, it just sat with me, and I was like, yes, that is 1,000% true. And it's that connectivity, it's that, you know, stickiness of this community, how we're all going to show up for each other, that makes this place really special. And that's the story I want to tell.
Yeah.
And I think that'll help me with my higher ed, you know, all these initiatives that we're working on, making sure, like I said, making sure that they are the first thought when somebody wants to expand, grow, look at the state. How is higher ed fitting into this? So
I love that.
But we got to tell our story better.
Yeah. I love what you said about 50. Yeah. I know all 50 of them.
2.4 million people, and I know all 50 of them.
You know, when we met, or actually got to know each other a little bit better in DC, on the DC Vegas Chamber DC Fly-In last month, I'd always felt that about Las Vegas, and particularly since I've started my own business in the last 8 years, and been on the networking scene and been involved in the Henderson Chamber and Vegas Chamber. But that trip, I was nervous to go on because I wasn't bringing a number two or somebody on my side with my company. I was going by myself. I knew I'd know a handful of people, but, you know, I was like, but I'm going to be in the room with some really important people. You know, am I just going to be invited to lunch with them or to drinks with them? And it was just, you know, that feeling that I felt all over again. Like, why was I even everybody is so interested to meet each other, interested to help each other out, wanting to know why you're there and how can I help you? What do you need from me? I'll help you. You help me. Yeah, it's just such a good feeling doing business with people in this town.
and that is something very uniquely Nevada.
Yeah.
I mean,
it sure feels that way.
Never mind the fact that you have politicians at your events. You can call the governor if you needed to, right? Like, we're very accessible, but also the people who, you know, that go on the Vegas Chamber trips, you know, if you needed to pick up the phone, they'll take your phone call. Recently, I made a phone call to someone, and I was like, I need your help. I know you know this. You've been doing this a lot longer than me. I am not somebody who's not going to admit when they, you know, I'm not the right person for this. You are.
Yeah.
And it was so nice because, yes, I had met them on the Vegas Chamber trip a couple years ago, but they see me in the community. They see what I'm doing. And they know that if I'm asking the question, that I've tried other things first. And I also think that trust and that just willingness to be yes, it's so special. And I think that's that small town charm that I hope we never lose as Nevadans, no matter how many people we
how big we get. Yes. So we got to the fun part. I like to talk about the fill in the blank Mad Lib style about networking in Nevada, which you are very familiar with. So you just tell me what the first thing you think of to complete the sentence. When doing business in Las Vegas, it's essential to have a solid strategy for
follow up.
Yeah. The key to networking in Las Vegas is to always remember to.
Repeat that.
The key to networking in Las Vegas is to always remember to.
Be your authentic self.
Good. Yes, absolutely. One thing every new transplant should know before doing business in Las Vegas is to never underestimate the power of
community.
When it comes to connecting with a business contact over drinks or breakfast or coffee or dinner, what is the Where's the go-to place for you?
Panavino or Legacy Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that. Best way to unwind after a day of doing business meetings in Las Vegas is to indulge in some blank before to recharge.
Luckily, I actually find being in the community a recharge. So I would say going to a VGK game, an Aces game, a UNLV game, that is my unwind and recharge moment all in the same.
Being with others, surrounded by cheering on your favorite team, or that's awesome. I like to do this personal lightning round too, so we can get to know kind of a little bit about what you imagine or where you've been or what you've done. If you could teleport anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
I would go to North Carolina. My grandma lives there. I have one living grandma, and she's 91 years old. She lives on a farm in North Carolina.
Oh,
so
that sounds beautiful.
I would see her a lot more.
Her.
Yeah.
Yes. If you had a superpower, what would it be and how would you use it?
Infinite perspective.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I think because we only have our own lived perspectives, and I would like the opportunity to understand where other people are coming from, and I think it'd make it easier to make more thoughtful decisions when I had to.
I love that. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done, and would you do it again?
I have to say, adventure. Well, here, adventures in the name. I have been to over 60 countries by myself.
Wow, I love that.
I've been to 89 countries overall, but I've been to 60 countries by myself, and I would
jealous.
1,000% do it again.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. And maybe you could probably write a book on traveling as a young female alone, solo.
I've filled 3 passports.
That is so cool.
Got lots of stories.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Lastly, if you could swap lives with any character, real or fiction, who would it be and what would you do?
It would be Leslie Knope. Because I am striving to be the Leslie Knope of Nevada.
Okay, I think you can get. I think you might already be there.
I love her passion, and it's quirky. Parks and Recs is funny.
Yeah.
But life is quirky.
Yeah.
Life is funny, and you can't take yourself too serious. And if you lead with passion, I think she's just a really good example. And I jokingly will say that, but I think I actually kind of mean it now.
I think you fit perfect. Yeah, you do have the fun, bubbly personality.
And plus, I think she would love Nevada. She just didn't have a chance to come here yet.
That's great. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate our time spent together. Tell people how they can get in touch with you or follow the Board of Regents, StartUp Vegas.
Yeah, so multiple ways to find me. I'm all over LinkedIn, of course. But Board of Regents, you can find us on the NSHE website. That's the Nevada System of Higher Education website. Go under Regents, and you can find my contact information. Startup.Vegas is where we are all things entrepreneurship. So if you're an entrepreneur in town or just curious what we're doing, we've got some amazing events. Please plan to come out. And then if you are interested in all things Nevada, the Home Means Podcast. So homemeanspodcast.com is a great way to find some amazing episodes. And we're even doing a couple live events, so stay tuned.
Fun. Yeah. Okay, keep me on your list because I want to know. Thank you so much again. So that's a wrap for today's episode. Be sure to follow us at GYC Vegas on Instagram, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn, and subscribe to our channel wherever you stream podcasts. And if you want to learn more about how your business can enhance its marketing efforts through the power of PR, visit our website at gycvegas.com. Thanks for listening to Get Your Chat On, and we'll see you next time.